Hey everybody, and welcome to another Flipping Pages. Now in today's video, we're going to have a look at Dust Tactics. And this is from Fantasy Flight Games from the year 2014, because this is the second edition book. What is Dust Tactics? Dust Tactics is pretty much alternate history World War II, where the war did not end. It's set in 1947, and it's basically alternate history. This may remind you of another game that's currently very, very popular, but that's that game and this is this. Right, so let's talk about this game very, very quick before I do the flip through. Now, Dust Tactics came out in 2010 as a board game. It was basically played on a flat grid map, and it had flat tile terrain, right? It's basically a board game. And then in 2011, the Dust Tactics Revised core set came out. And then in 2012, Dust Warfare came out. Now, Dust Warfare is pretty much the tabletop version of this game that's not a board game. So they say it has 3D terrain and stuff like that. It pretty much is a tabletop war game, right? With not on a grid, but on a normal tabletop game, right? Tabletop war game table, right? Now this is a 2014 edition. Now the reason I'm looking through this book is because this book is pretty unique, and I like to say that it is doing something that I don't think has been done before and not done since. So yeah, so let's have a look at the rulebook really, really quick. Now, for some folks who've been playing the game for quite a while, Dust Tactics may have not a great memory for you, simply because of the Kickstarter that well, it didn't do well, and a lot of backers did not get their pledges and stuff like that. But that's that. Right now, we're gonna have a look at this rulebook. Why? Because if you find it anywhere else, you can actually use miniatures from other manufacturers to play this game. It's a simple game to play, and the book's really, really pretty. It's good for you if you have a collection of rule books. This is one that you should have. It's everything a rule book should be, and it came out in 2014. So off the bat, it tells you that in this rule book, they're gonna let you teach you how to play the game in, as I showed you, as I told you, the map, the 2D, the flat map with a flat tile terrain, as a board game, or you can play it as a tabletop game, the battlefield game. So that is great because it sets you up for what you're gonna have inside the book, which is really, really cool. And it's nice, also nice. It's pictures of nice looking miniatures, which is what I like. Definitely what I like. Now the book is filled with really, really nice art. The art direction in this one is pretty fantastic. All in all, it's a really good looking book. But let's flip through very, very quick. So here's the table of contents, and then you got the map of the world during this time. It's kind of cool because it's got all these like little key spots and where things are happening, and then they introduce you to the three forces: the Allies, the Axis, and the Sino-Soviet Union, right? The SSU. So right, and this is the world map in 1947, and then they do a rundown of history, right? Or their history, right? So the world in dust, as it says here, 1936 to 1947. So they kick it off with an alien spaceship crashes in Antarctica. So pretty much the game works on this premise, right? The fact that history diverges, splits from the normal timeline because of this incident, right? The spaceship crashing. And if you were to flip through read the sequence of events, it's pretty similar to what's happened in World War II, except that now you've got the alien tech, right? And the fact that they found an alien in a sarcophagus, and they released it, right? So the whole game is hinges on this thing called VK Tech, which is basically Vril Kultur Tech. So yeah, so that's pretty much the little bit of fluff behind it. But as you can see, they do go deep on the history of or the timeline of Dust, all the way down to 1947. Now in this timeline, Adolf Hitler is killed in 1943, and the Axis becomes a force on its own, without it having to hinge on certain ideologies, which best be left to history. So first off, we have a look at the Allied forces, and we're introduced to ASOCOM, Allied Special Operations Command. And it's kind of cool because they actually show a picture of the walker, and it says it's 100% accurate. So the walker is about ye high, ye big. Now, the fact that it's World War II tank with legs is really, really cool actually. It's a really nice visual to push a miniature range with. And as you can see, it's selling its miniatures in the rulebook with pictures of the miniatures. That's how it should be. And then you got the Axis forces, and there you go, the Axis walker right there, and pretty much what the Axis walkers look like, slightly bigger, slightly bulkier. And then you've got the Sino-Soviet Union SSU forces, and like I said, all three have really nice art. The art, they don't skimp on the talent in this book. The art's really, really nice. It is very evocative. It sets you up for what you're going to expect inside, and they want you to really, really immerse yourself in this world, right? So yeah, so first off, some real art here. First off, we talk about dust tactics. Now in this rule book, they're gonna show you how to play the game with as a board game, and how you're gonna play the game as a traditional tabletop war game, right? So, and here's the rules: how to play dust tactics. Now Dust works on this dust dice. It's kind of cool that even in 2014, they actually had two different kind of dice. You got the classic dust dice, and then the dust dice that they used during this time, right? So the original one only had like two sides that had like a little marker, and then all four sides around the four is like blank, right? So what the newer dice has like the faction logo on two sides, and then the hit on two sides, and then shields on two sides, and this corresponds to the different things that you can the different results that you can get while rolling the dice, which I think is kind of cool. It's also very FFG if you ask me. So yeah, then they break down the cards for the units. Now this game works on cards, right? Why do I say that? Is because a lot of the stats and stuff like that are on the cards, and when you activated the card and you finish activating the card, you tap it, right? Or you turn it to the side. I can't use the word tap. You turn it to the side to show that it's already activated, right? It's a great way to, like, you can look at the table and you can see which one's activated, which one's not. So you don't have to use tokens, right? It's their way of making it easy to visually see which one's done, which is not done, without having to put like a lot of tokens everywhere. The other thing is also kind of cool is they use a lot of icons, and here is the explanation of the icons. For example, like the armor rating, like this one over here is 2, and 2 armor rating 2 is soldiers wear light body armor. So just looking at this stat and then double checking with this, you can tell what they're armed with. I mean, what they're armored with, and the same goes for the vehicles as well. Next up, we got initiative and how to play the game. Now, if you were to look at the book, right, it's got a whole lot of charts, and it's got like art inside. So when you are trying to learn how to game, the chances of you losing interest is slightly lesser. I like to think, because of all these diagrams, all these like maps and miniatures, right, to keep you engaged while you learn how to play the game, or at least the board game version, right? And all of the examples also come with a little bit of flavor as well, right? Why? Because they want you to learn and hopefully, like, immerse yourself into the game as well. It's a great rule book, tactic or method to sell your rule book. And I'm really happy that I'm looking through this one right now, because we have a lot of rule books that come out like almost like every month. And just looking at this is it's a good template, to look back and maybe emulate, the effectiveness. The design is very nice, and a lot of the examples have a lot of pictures and stuff like that, which is really cool. And then you've got the scenarios, and they give you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scenarios for you to choose from, and some art. So this is pretty much the board game version, right? You still use miniatures, but you're playing this on a mat or board with flat tiles, right? And then with as if to usher in the miniatures, you got a nice picture of all the miniatures here. And then you have Dust Tactics Battlefield, and this is the other rules that you can use using the same miniatures, but playing it on a different battlefield altogether, right? The stat cards is pretty much the same, more or less. Everything's more or less the same. It's just that now you are looking at something that's more 3D. So there are a little more nuances that needs to be sorted out. For example, like the game is played on. It's recommended to play the game on. The game is recommended to be played on a 6x4, right? I think 3x3 would have been enough, but they wanted to play it on a 6x4, which I can understand why they wanted that grand, tabletop feel of a whole lot of miniatures, right? But it's also kind of nice because they actually tell you they can either choose between the measurements, right? You can either go for the metric system or the imperial system, right? Whether it's centimeters or inches, right? Which is kind of cool. So that leaves you the option of, choosing which measurement you want to use, right? And the whole rulebook has that, right? They've got both the different measurements for you to choose, where if you decide to choose one or the other, right? So yeah, so looking through a rulebook again, lots of nice pictures, but this time, as you can see, instead of using one for all, they've actually added examples with the terrain, the trees and stuff like that, which is really cool. I think it does feel a bit redundant, but I think this is much clearer when you're choosing to use a whole different table or terrain, or the game changes. I think the game changes quite a lot. So yeah, so as you can see, a whole lot of examples as well, a lot of pictures, and really nice close-ups of the walkers and stuff like that, which is really cool. And like I said, lots of flavor text, and even like when they're using examples, they make sure even the examples have some in world feel about it, which is kind of cool. Yeah, as you can see, everything is illustrated with pictures, which I think is how it should be done for a lot of rule books. It makes things easy, and also makes it easy for newbies to get into the game. And then you've got a little nice picture here, an almost splash page, and then you got the scenarios. It's kind of cool here. They've got this like way of like rolling for scenarios, so like different combinations give you different scenarios instead of like 1 to 4 is so and so, or 2 to 5. I mean, they could have roll a d6, but this is also kind of cool actually. Anyways, you got scenario 1, scenario 2, and then you have, let me see now, 5, 4, 5, 6 scenarios. And then they teach you how to play the game, how to build armies for the battlefield game now. This is going to be very familiar to you if you've played Flames of War, or you've played any of the World War II games that have been out during this time, because they introduced the platoon, right, which is basically the way you you build your force, right? And this is an example of how you play a platoon. And then they show you a platoon that you can build from, right? So this is the Allied Medium Combat Walker platoon, and you can either choose this, and each platoon comes with a platoon advantage, right? And it's all the different walkers that come with this platoon. And then if you move forward, you've got the Allied Ranger platoon, and they've got their platoon advantage, and a little bit of fluff on the Lieutenant Colonel and who the SOCOM Rangers are, right? Because you can actually add them. It's actually part of the platoon over here. And then you have the Allied Heavy Ranger platoon, and then as you can see, when they've added new things, or each platoon is unique with something, they will explain it in this part of the book as well. The way the book is written is very, really cool. And each of the platoons have their own, advantage, right? So platoon advantage for the Allied Range platoon is Rangers lead the way. And then platoon advantage for the Heavy Ranger platoon is Lightning Strike. And then you have the Axis Panzer Kampfgruppe. And this is, how you build the platoon for the Axis. The platoon advantage is mobile warfare, and you can see they've got all the different walkers that you can choose and what they are. And then you have the Axis Grenadier platoon with Blitzkrieg tactics as the advantage, and then the Axis Heavy Grenadier platoon with mission tactics as an advantage. And each of these, like I said, is a different have different strengths and different weaknesses. It's up to you to put together your army. And then you have the Blutkreuzkorps, when they've got fanatical loyalty. And then you got the SSU, the KV-47 Wolfpack, and these are the walkers. A little bit of history of the KV-47. They got one here. Yeah, they got one here. The Grandma, just think that's kind of cool. Anyways, the platoon advantage with evasive maneuvers, and then SSU rifle platoon with wave attack. So guys and their infantry waves. And then you have the SSU Steel Guard platoon, right? And then some bits of art, and then the special rules, right? This I think is also kind of cool because it adds another layer, and you can keep on adding layers or remove the layers that you don't want, right? But the special rules are kind of cool, actually, if you ask me. They've got things like superhumans and heroes, and superhumans are basically heroes but special characters, right? I want to think of them as special characters, and then you have the heroes, which are characters, and then you have your command squads, which offer different things to your platoon or your squads, and different power-ups, if I may. And then all of these keywords that add stuff to the game, which I think is really, really cool. And they got their special weapons that you can things like grapple weapons and stuff like that, which, like I said, you can actually add on or not, right? It's really up to you. But I like the fact that they really put a separate section for this, simply because perhaps once you've already played the game a little bit and you want to add all of the extra stuff, you're more than welcome to. So that's really, really cool. And then you got the vehicle equipment, and then you got carrying passengers. The flyers started coming into the game as well. Actually, it's kind of a shame though, because the Kickstarter was supposed to bring another faction in, but that's a story for another day. And at the moment, this channel does not do that kind of stories, talking about the behind the scenes of why things didn't happen. I might do that. I mean, why not? And then we've got the index, and then some templates that you can actually photostat, or I think you would probably photostat or copy or take the dimensions and do and make your own. And then you've got the credits. It's a Paolo Parente game, right? So yeah, he's quite a name in the wargaming world. The year is 1947 and the war isn't over. Very, very quick though. This game at this point was a collaboration between Battlefront Miniatures and Dust, the Dust company, right? But like I said, they after this book came out, the Kickstarter happened, and then everything just went to went bad. If that's the best way I can put it nicely, went bad, right? So yeah, it's quite a shame though, because the Kickstarter it promised quite a lot. But if you see this rulebook anywhere, go ahead and pick it up. Why? Because it is at a stage of the game where there were a limited amount of units, and you can actually use these units with other miniatures. There are a whole lot of miniatures now that you can scratch, that you can bring into this game. And as for the walkers, a little bit of hobbying, and you can actually take any of the World War II tanks that you have and modify them. I mean, since it is, it's World War II, 1947, right? Of course, it's much better to go and get the miniatures, the miniatures from the game, for the game. Why? Because they really look good, man. They really look good. They've got this nice vibe about them, something quite chunky, and it's looks brutal. But like I said, it's a shame. It could have been a whole lot of like different walkers and stuff like that, and well, it didn't happen. But like I said, if you're collecting rulebooks, this is definitely a rulebook to have in your collection. Again, it's very rare that you have a rulebook that gives you rules for playing, a grid-based game, and a proper traditional tabletop game with 3D terrain and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the flip through. I enjoyed the flip through. I actually enjoyed going through the book and seeing how much this game. Actually, you know what? There's actually a group that's playing this game in this region, and when I spoke to one of them, and he's still collecting the units and stuff like that, which I think is really really cool. It's become one of those games where the range is limited, so you tend to collect everything and have everything, which I think is very very cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like and subscribe, and as always, don't forget to enjoy painting those figures.